Hi, this is Dave, and welcome to the weekly market recap closing out the week for Friday, March the 21st, 2014. So before we get into the video, just want to let people know, everybody out there, that we have a really interesting event coming up. It's if you come to the markettradingconcepts.com website, under upcoming events and full day upcoming educational seminars, we've scheduled a full one-day in-depth seminar called What Every Investor Ought to Know Now. And it is with, let me just go over to the event here. If you link over to it, it's with David Cox. He is a longtime investor, very knowledgeable. He's been a guest presenter a couple of times at the CSTA Oakville chapter. He'll be presenting actually at the CSTA Toronto chapter on the 25th of March. You might want to go to the CSTA website and have a look at that and register. That'll be on this upcoming Tuesday. But David's going to do a full day event with us at the Market Trading Concepts Trading Room in Burlington. It's going to be an intimate and intensive workshop. You'll be able to get all your questions answered. We're limited to about 20 seats, and it's going to focus on how to create a systematic, organized market approach to confidently take back your financial future today. So if you're interested, have a look at the write-up. There's a lot of good stuff in here. If you want to know specifically what you'll be learning, underneath some of the marketing copy, there is a link here that says, what will I specifically learn? So you can click there for the course syllabus, and there is an in-depth description of all the different sessions and exactly what you'll be learning. So you know, I'm really excited about this event. That's something that David and I have been working on for a little while now, and I think that this course will appeal to more than just, you know, active traders and investors. It will appeal to them, but you know, anybody that is a life investor that needs to learn how to manage their investing and their for their financial future. So this basically, we tried to put something together that applies not only to active traders, investors, but applies to anybody that just needs to get ahead in life. So have a look at that. I think you'll find it of interest. It is a paid event, so you can take a look at what it's going to cost. It's actually quite reasonable. And there's an early bird special which expires on, I believe it's April the 13th. So have a look at that if you're interested. Now let's just get into this week's analysis. So I'm going to start off with the Dow futures on the daily chart, as we usually do. And, you know, we've had some Fed announcements come out this week, and, you know, just different things. And the market essentially, like, if you look at where the highs are, we haven't been able to get above the highs. I still haven't given up on the long side of the market just yet, but it's really, you know, the bulls really got to step up here in order to get things going. And, you know, you can see that we sort of pulled back. We broke above this trend line, and then we put in like a gravestone doji right above that trend line. So the next thing that I'm going to be looking for is I'm either going to be looking for some sort of follow through above that high or follow through below, you know, the low, to see if we're going to either, you know, roll over and pull back further, or if we're going to get ready to make a move back to the high side. So this candlestick is very important for the close of Friday, and we'll need to see on the Dow if we're, you know, which way we're going to go here. Let's take a look at the S&P futures. Look at the sister indices to see, you know, sort of the same thing, you know, choppy to sideways. We haven't really gotten any follow through yet. It's not to say that we will, but, you know, the risk reward here of being a buyer close to the highs here doesn't make sense, but it also doesn't make sense to short just yet, just because of, you know, the bullish action. So I guess what I'm saying in a nutshell is I'm really not doing anything here in terms of swing trading. I'm just looking to see, you know, which way we're going to break here. We're too close to the highs to take a long, and, you know, we're still bullish, so it doesn't make sense to take a short. So I'm just sort of neutral and watching. In terms of positions, I'm neutral and just sort of watching to see what's going to happen. The NASDAQ, same story. Can't seem to really get anything going through the highs there. Let's take a look at the Russell. And I think I might have put the wrong symbol. There's the Russell. You know, same story here. We're close to the highs, but we're not really getting any action going. Let's take a look at the transports. Transport, same thing. This is sort of looking a bit like a cup pattern and a bit of a handle. So it'll be interesting to see if we're going to break out here or if we're just, going to fail that area. I don't really have a lot on that. It is what it is. Let's take a look at, let's jump over to some key currencies. Let's look at the dollar index. The dollar index caught a bid off of, this lower support zone around 79.28, just above there, and it had a pretty monster up day. I guess that would have been on Wednesday, and it just sort of held on. To that support area. It wasn't really ready to give up just yet. We've broken this trend line here, and if you were to draw, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to draw a parallel. You've got that sort of down channel. You've broken out to the high side of that. So it'll be interesting to see if the dollar index is going to catch a bid and come back, into the higher side of this range here, somewhere around 80, 85, 81, something like that, 80, 85 to 81. And let's take a look at the euro. The euro was holding above $1.0830. And you can see we closed just below $1. We closed at $1.3792. So we closed just above that $1.3820, $1.38 sort of key resistance level. So we didn't, we held above it for days and then we just came back down through it. So this isn't really very telling. We need to, in order for the euro to keep, its momentum going, it really needs to stay above this $1.3828 area. And let's see, so we closed right at that line in the sand. Let's just take a look at the USD CAD. And for some reason I can't type today. So the USD CAD had a nice little pop back up above this high here, and then it sort of came back down, but it held the 8-period moving average, and it's trading about $1.12 now. So the US dollar versus the CAD trading about $1.12. I'm happy to see this personally. And the question is, are we going to get anything going, to the high side? So what I'm looking at here is this sort of mini cup pattern here, looking to see if we can get some breakout extensions above there. The 1272, 1618, and let's even throw on the 2618. If we really get something going, that would bring us, potentially, 113, 114, and possibly 117.5 if we really were to get something going. So that's sort of how I'm looking at that. We are overbought, but the USD CAD, as long as it's holding this trend line here, I'm still more bullish than I am bearish on it. Let's take a look at the natural gas. Natural gas has been kind of a dead market for the last couple of weeks here. We've just been sideways. We broke this 444 level, but we're not really doing a lot here. We're just sort of sideways, and it's this kind of looks like a dead market. It looks like there's really no interest, no activity. So the question is, with the warmer weather, or with, it's not really warmer weather, but with the spring coming, maybe people are there's not as much demand for natural gas. The next level really to come into play here, I don't really know, but the next level to come into play here is $4.24. We're just above that, and if we hold $4.24, if we don't, then you've got some levels below here, 409, 402. Got a lot of congestion in this area with higher. This is the higher volume area, so this entire zone is going to act as a support zone. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I personally don't really see any opportunities in this market right now. Let's take a look at crude oil. There I go again. I'm having a problem typing. Crude oil. So crude oil came and it held its 5 HER 20 here. That's what the cyan line is. It's sort of a trailing stop. And you can see that it held that. And if you look at, just a minor, you had a minor downtrend there. It broke that minor downtrend. It's more sideways than anything. But we're back up around 99.46. We tested $100 a barrel. You still got this massive resistance here at 101.32. So as long as we're below 101.32, I'm sort of slightly bullish to neutral on it. Really what we're just experiencing here is a sideways market. And I'll be honest with you, all these markets here have been sort of sideways and just, I don't know if they're waiting for something or there's just really nothing to, there's no drivers to really push the markets one way or the other. So you're really just dealing with sort of range-bound markets. They're not very interesting, in my opinion, at this point in time. So let's see, are there any other markets we want to cover? Let's take a look at some metals. Gold had a decent sell-off here. We tested this, one of these levels that we were talking about. $13 or $1,360 was one of the levels that we were talking about possibly being a target, all the way up to potentially 1,400. We didn't quite make it to 1,400, but we got probably 75% into the upper portion of this range between 1,360 and 1,400. Now we're back down. We're pulling back to the 1,340 zone, and we're starting to get a little bit oversold here. So the question is, are we going to hold this trend line and then push back off? Not really sure. As long as we're holding that trend line, I am more bullish than bearish on gold. If we break that trend line, then I'd be a little bit more bearish than I am bullish on gold. But having said that, I'm not really even interested in this market either, in terms of trading opportunities. Silver, we had more of a pullback than we did in gold. But having said that, I think we're coming into a decent fib zone here from this last major swing move. Yeah, you've got like a 50% to 618 in here. Question is, are we going to hold this, push back up to the high side? But having said that, I'm not really all that interested in this market to trade either. Let's see. Let's take a look at let's look at the bonds. The bonds are really sideways here in this big range. But you've got this sort of, not a confirmed double top in play, but you've got this, sideways action. I think the real decision points here in the bonds are, a break above this developing double top. It's not a double top yet until it breaks, until it were to break, the apex of this swing point, this pivot point. So I think this would be a decision point here, and I think that would be a decision point there. And otherwise, we're just in this big box range. That's basically what it looks like to me. Let's take a look at that was the 30-year. Let's take a look at the 10-year. 10-year is a little bit weaker, but same story here. You've just got this sort of this box going here. And I think what's really driving that is a question of our interest rates. Let's take a look at the 10-year yield. And the question is, our interest rates. This to me looks like a bottoming pattern here in the 10-year. That's what this actually looks like to me. And if you look at it here, we didn't really print a lower low here, but if we did, this would look an awful lot like a positive divergence. But we didn't quite do that. So I'm hesitant to call it a positive divergence. But if you look at this looks like a bottoming pattern. But, we're not really going to get anything going until and if we can break 3% in the 10-year. So if we get above 3% in the 10-year, I think that's the inflection point for higher interest rates. And that we're going to be watching closely, but we're not quite there yet. Okay, so I'm trying to think if there's any other markets I want to cover. I think that pretty much wraps it up. I'm just going to take a look at some other futures markets we don't usually look at. This is coffee. Coffee had a really, really big run, and now it looks like it's due for a pullback. So the question is, if you look at this 5 ATR20, it comes right into a key fib zone. So this will be an interesting area to see if we're going to hold, if we're going to do this kind of scenario, hold this zone and then push back off. From a technical perspective, it looks interesting. Let's take a look at soybeans. Soybeans are, they broke out of this triangle back here, but we failed to actually, we put in sort of a double top here. We actually failed to put in a higher high here. So the question is the run in soybeans over? The decision point is really, I think, a break above those highs. We really need to get above those highs in order to confirm that we are going higher. It sounds pretty basic, but that's, it's just stating the obvious. Corn looks, like we broke out of this long basing pattern in a lot of the grains. It almost looks like a rounded bottom, almost like a cup pattern, like a rounded bottom. It's a basing pattern nonetheless. And, we broke above this, and the question is, are we going to keep trekking higher? or not. You know, we've had a lot of activity in here, and now we're just sort of going sideways. But a pattern is a pattern is a pattern. Let's take a look at wheat. You know, same thing here. You know, we've had this sort of basing pattern here. You know, and then we're building a right side of a sort of base or a cup. Question is, are we going to find some continuation or follow through, you know, through this this basing pattern? So basing patterns are pretty important patterns for long-term launches. The question is, are the grains going to have a long-term launch, or are they just going to go sideways? Okay, so that's all I really have this week. Stay tuned for some upcoming events. I talked about one of the events at the beginning of this video. There are some other events coming out, and if you want to get a flavor for, David's speaking presentation style technique, he's a really good speaker. You might want to take a look at this upcoming event here that I mentioned at the beginning. If you come over to the csta.org and you come over to events, you can register for David's presentation he'll be giving there on the RSI, and it is on the 25th of March at the Strathcona Hotel in Toronto at 4:30. You can have a look at David's website as well, davidcox.ca, and just click the register button and follow through the process. Okay, so I hope that helps. Good trading and investing, and we'll look forward to seeing you at an upcoming event or at the next update. All the best.